Hi, I'm Shashank and I head the ALS team at Subex. Subex is a pioneer in the space of digital trust, providing solutions for 75% of the world's top 50 telcos. The charter for me and my team is to build AI first products for telecom and other verticals and also embed artificial intelligence in all the existing products of Subex. I joined Subex about a year back, and before that, I have worked with multiple large tech companies, including VMware, Amazon, Flipkart, and Target. Today, I'm going to talk about an explainable AI library, dominance analysis, that has been built by us at Subex and which helps determine the relative importance of predictors. Now, when we started building framework for explainable AI for our augmented analytics platform, one thing we realized that while it is important to provide explanation, it is equally important to make that explanation intuitive enough. As the end consumer of those explanations, more often than not, are non-ML practitioners and are folks from the business side of the world and the strategy side of the spectrum. In that pursuit, we developed a library dominance analysis and open sourced it on Python. Dominance analysis is a concept proposed by Azane and Budescu and is a framework for accurate and intuitive derived importance of predictors for any model which has either continuous or categorical target. The intent of creating this library was to offer an interpretable and intuitive explanation, which also makes a lot of sense quantitatively. And majority of the more than 30,000 users of this library worldwide have been folks from non-data sciences background. Now, a lot of us would have worked with this library known as SHAP, which is based on Shapley values and cooperative game theory. Dominance analysis works on the same principle, and the math is also the same. Consider a machine learning model to be a game and the features to be players playing that game. Now, each combination of feature will be a possible correlation. So for a model with n features, you will have 2 to the power n possible correlations. So in a 3-feature world, you will have 8 combinations or 8 correlations. What dominance analysis does is compute a feature's incremental contribution across all subset models and hence accounts for a feature individual effect as well as its effect in the presence of other features. Now let's take an example of real world, and understand the nuances of decision making. Let's say, you go to a store to buy a shoe for yourself and you shortlist 2 shoes. One is Nike priced at $10. The other one is a local shoe priced at $9. Now, even the price is the most important factor for your decision making, but in presence of brand, the magnitude of importance will change. And you might go ahead and buy the Nike shoe. Similarly, another factor, color, can impact the whole dynamics of decision making. The effect is called as interaction effect. And in this case, you saw that price alone had different magnitude of importance, but in presence of brand, the importance changed. Dominance analysis has applicability for any marginal resource allocation problem, like multi-touch attribution, other problems around survey design, etc. And because of the intuitive nature of dominance analysis, it can be applied across compendium of other use cases, apart from its prime objective of explaining machine learning models. Now, as I said, dominance analysis works on the principle of cooperative game theory. Let's try and understand the principle in detail. Let's take an example of 3 players playing a game of poker. Now, in this case, there are 8 possible correlations. Now, illustration on the right provides different payouts for each correlation. Now, if none of the players play, obviously the payout will be $0, right? But when they are playing alone, A's payout is $7, B's is $4, and C's is $6. Now, there will be 3 combinations of 2 players each. A and B playing, the payout is $7. A and C playing, the payout is $15. And B and C playing, the payout is $9. When all 3 play, the payout is $19. Now, the intent is to find the share of each of these players in this $19 by calculating the marginal contribution of each player across all possible combinations and then averaging them out. Now, let's do it for A. A's individual contribution, as we saw earlier, was $7. Now, the incremental contribution of A to the correlation of A and B is $3, and that to the combination of A and C is $9. And hence, the average incremental contribution of A to the correlation of 2 players is average of 3 and 9, which is $6. Now, let's look at correlation of 3 players and A's incremental contribution to it. When B and C play together, the payout is $9, but when A joins them in the correlation, the payout increases to $19, which means incremental contribution of A is $10. Now, computing the average of average incremental contribution of A across all possible correlations, it will be 7 plus 6 plus 10 divided by 3, which means, the average will become $7.67. Similarly, you can calculate B's and C's share, and these values are known as Shapley values. Now, the math of dominance analysis is pretty much derived from the math of Shapley values, right? So if there are n features, a total of 2 to the power n minus 1 models would have to be built. We are subtracting 1 from 2 to the power n because we cannot build a model with no features. So if we have total of 4 features, we'll have 15 models. For each subset model, we evaluate the average incremental R squared contribution of each feature. The concept of dominance is based on incremental R squared contribution, and you can read more on that on our official documentation of the library. Now this is an illustration of 4 variable or 4 feature world, right? You can see how we have gone ahead and calculated average incremental R squared contribution across all subset models. Now, moving on, there will be a lot of questions around what would happen if the target is categorical or if one has built a classification model. In case when the target is continuous, R square works well. But in case when the target is categorical, we need to compute R square equivalents. Those are known as pseudo R squares, right? And there are 4, there are different types of pseudo R square, but these 4 that I have mentioned here are the major ones, are the popular ones, right? And then, there are a few criteria which define robust measure of choosing a metric for evaluating feature importance. And they are boundedness, and boundedness means that, the measure should vary between 0 to 1, 0 indicating complete lack of fit, and 1 indicating, a perfect fit. Linear variance, and it means that the measure should be invariant to non-singular linear transformation of the variable, be it the y or the x's. Monotonicity means, the measure should not decrease with addition of a predictor. And intuitive interpretability, as you would know, means, the measure of fit is intuitively interpretable. Now, a relative importance measure should be able to describe a predictor's direct, total, and partial effect. And therefore, what we did is we went ahead and defined something called as dominance statistics, wherein we have come up with 4 different types of dominance measures. These measures have been completely conceptualized, defined, and formulated by us and are unique to this library. Now, interactional dominance is the incremental R square contribution of predictors to the complete model, right? And hence, the interactional dominance of a particular predictor X will be different between the R square of complete model, and the R square of model with all other predictors except that particular predictor X. The individual dominance of a predictor is the R square of the model between the dependent variable and the predictor. Average partial dominance, as the word suggests, is R square contribution of the predictor to all subset model except complete model and the bivariate model, right? When the only one predictor is present. The last measure of dominance summarizes the additional contribution of each predictor to all subset models by averaging all the conditional values, and that's called as total dominance. One additional feature in the library is dominance levels. There are 3 levels of dominance while comparing each pair of predictors. A predictor is said to completely dominate other predictor if its dominance holds across all possible subset models. If a predictor's average additional contribution is greater for some model sizes, but not for all, then it is said to be conditionally dominating the other predictors. If the overall average R square contribution of one predictor is greater than the other, then the predictor is said to be generally dominating the other. Now, when we talk about model explainability or machine learning explainability, there are 2 major ways of looking at it. One is global explainability, which basically means explaining which features have impacted the overall prediction and by how much. And then there is local explainability, which basically talks about which features have impacted a particular prediction in question. Well, we do pretty well on global explainability bit. The local explainability is something we're still working on, and we intend to come up with a robust novel framework in another couple of months. Please do read our official documentation and try our library, and please, commit through GitHub if you have any feedback. Thanks a lot for attending this talk.